Hey, it's Chris Hand for USS, United Structural Systems. Hey, take a look at your driveway, your sidewalks, see if it's settling. Do you have sinking slabs or patio steps that are sinking? Are your porch steps tilted? Has your sidewalk or patio shifted? You may need concrete leveling, and the guys to do it are at USS. They use the Poly-Lift system. Now, here's why they use that. It's less expensive than concrete replacement. Plus, it has higher load capacities than the traditional approach, and they won't color change your concrete, and they won't damage the grass or landscaping. The guys at USS are the best. They're honest, hardworking, good people, and they've been in Tennessee for decades. USS has everything you need, whether you got wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors. If you're noticing water in your crawl space, give these guys a call. USS, 615-488-7855. They have 25,000 satisfied customers. It is not going to be shocking why when you call them today. USS, United Structural Systems, 615-488-7855. We guarantee our best. Call USS. They take the stress out of home repair. .907 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm a little frustrated. I'm not going to lie to you. I knew this was going to happen. You knew this was going to happen. And it works like a charm every time. Trump has been indicted. Yep. Deranged Jack Smith, as Trump calls him, announcing charges for Trump for what happened during Gen 6. It's frustrating to me, because I think the big story in the country right now is the Biden family. But because of these new indictments, we get no new information on the Biden crime family. And it's so frustrating, because you knew they were waiting for this indictment to distract from Biden revelations as soon as new revelations came out. And we knew that was going to happen. And here we are. And I go through my normal prep process this morning and last night, looking for the main stories, looking to see what we're missing. We're just inundated with Trump indictment stuff. And not that that's not a big story. It is. It absolutely is. But I think that the left went with this now to distract from the Biden crime family, to distract from the Devin Archer testimony, to distract from the 20 plus phone calls that Joe Biden was on with Hunter Biden's business partners. It's so frustrating, because I don't want to have to talk about Trump. I don't want to have to talk about his role in the insurrection. It's not really like fun. But now we have to. It's dominating the news cycle. And there's no real way to get away from it. Everyone is talking about Trump indictment. I mean, CNN is going on about it now. Fox News is covering it nonstop. Even Newsmax and OAN. That's all they're talking about. It's just so frustrating. But it is a big story. And it is something that we're going to have to cover. Even though we don't want to. Even though it's a nothing burger. Even though they're basically going after for the former president for thought crime. That's basically where we're at. He thought he won the election. I know everybody has their own opinions on what happened with the election. I share some of those opinions. I have some of those opinions. But that's not really what's at the focal point here. What's at the focal point is Donald Trump thought he won, according to the prosecutors, and thought crime is illegal in this country. Here's deranged prosecutor Jack Smith announcing the charges.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding.
So, defrauding the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters. Where were these charges when Hillary Clinton came out and said Russia stole the election in 2016? What? She wasn't disenfranchising voters? I was pretty disenfranchised. We couldn't have Russia meddling in our democracy. But it's rules for thee, but not for me, right? So Trump is disenfranchising voters, defrauding the United States of America. Okay. I mean, the Russia collusion hoax, which was paid for by Hillary Clinton, proven, that kind of costs a lot of money to look into. It seems like that would be defrauding the United States to me. But I digress.
To defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding.
Okay.
The indictment was issued by a grand jury of citizens here in the District of Columbia, and it sets forth the crimes charged in detail. I encourage everyone to read it in full. The attack on our nation's capital on January 6th, 2021, was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy.
Oh, and you could see the single tear roll down his cheek when he said that. It's just a slow rolling tear.
As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant targeted at obstructing a bedrock function of the U.S. government, the nation's process of collecting, counting, and certifying the results of the presidential election.
Again, I will point back, lies by the defendant, says deranged prosecutor Jack Smith. If Donald Trump truly believes he won the election, if he's truly trying to go for that, what about Hillary? When she tries to say Russia stole the election. That she knew those were lies. She was involved in the dossier, and nothing came of it. No. That's totally fine. It's the thought crime aspect. That's the issue. It's the fact that Orange Man bad, and they can't keep letting him get away with it. So that's where we are. Donald Trump is being charged with thought crimes. Jonathan Turley took to Twitter last night and said Special Counsel Jack Smith just issued the first criminal indictment of alleged disinformation, in my view. If you take a red pen to all of the material presumptively protected by the First Amendment, you can reduce much of the indictment to a haiku. Jonathan Turley is absolutely right. This is all protected by the First Amendment. In the indictment, this is what it says. Despite having lost, the defendant was determined to stay in power. So for more than 2 months following the election, on November 3rd, 2020, the defendant spread lies that there had been outcome determinative fraud in the election that he actually won. These claims were false, and the defendant knew they were false. Again, I go back to Hillary Clinton. How long did she go on about Russia stealing the election in 2016? Also, how do they know what Trump knew or believed? How can they prove that? Spoiler alert, they don't know, and they can't. And that's probably why they're doing this in D.C. That's not going to be a jury of Donald Trump's peers, I can assure you of that. It's insanity. It's absolutely insanity. Breitbart.com highlighted that insanity. The indictment does not indicate how prosecutors were able to establish what Trump himself believed, other than the fact that he'd been informed by others that his suspicion of fraud were false. Nor does it distinguish the case from the Russia collusion hoax spread by Trump's opponents, including the Department of Justice after he won the 2016 election. There are several unnamed, unindicted co-conspirators in the indictment as well. These are 4 attorneys, a Department of Justice official, and a political consultant who worked on Trump's strategy to challenge the result. Okay, so just in case you're keeping score at home, they're mad at Trump for thinking the wrong thing, and they're mad at him for working with lawyers to find legal routes to remedy what he thought was a stolen election. Is that a crime? Is working with lawyers to legally challenge the outcome of an election a crime? Is it? Because I feel like Al Gore did that with George Bush. Work with lawyers to legally challenge the outcome of the election. I feel like there's a lot of precedent here that's already been set. But since Orange Man is bad, well, then precedent goes out the window. I mean, they're mad that Trump thought he won the election and wanted to pursue every avenue to win. So it boils down to they're really mad that Trump had an opinion and that he asked lawyers to work on it. Crazy. But why are they doing this now? Oh, well, I don't know. Donald Trump has an idea. He posted on Truth Social. Why didn't they bring this ridiculous case 2.5 years ago? They wanted it right in the middle of my campaign. That's why. Sure sounds about right. They wanted it right in the middle of Donald Trump's campaign. It all goes back to Orange Man bad, and we can't let this man win. And I want to point out, Joe Biden literally, during a press conference, I believe this was like a year ago, said that they will go every avenue to make sure that Donald Trump can't win an election.
G7 conversation was tied to your predecessor, who is about to launch another campaign. So how do you reassure them, if that is the reason for their questioning, that the former president will not return, or that his political movement, which is still very strong, will not once again take power in the United States?
Well, we just have to demonstrate that he will not take power by, if he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
Oh, does this sound like legitimate efforts under the Constitution? Finding anything under the sun to charge President Trump with? Seems like it to me that old Biden there, his dementia wasn't hitting that hard that day, and he could kind of see into the future of what the game plan was. I think he kind of gave you a spoiler alert of what their plans were. That as soon as Trump started to gain any momentum, they were going to come at him with the full force of the law for anything that they could find. Trump campaign issued this statement. This is nothing more than the latest corrupt chapter in the continued pathetic attempt by the Biden crime family and their weaponized Department of Justice to interfere with the 2024 presidential election, in which President Trump is the undisputed front runner and leading by substantial margins. But why did they wait 2.5 years to bring these fake charges right in the middle of President Trump's winning campaign for 2024? Why was it announced the day after the big crooked Joe Biden scandal broke out from the halls of Congress? The answer is election interference. The lawlessness of these persecutions of President Trump and his supporters is reminiscent of Nazi Germany in the 1930s, the former Soviet Union, and other authoritarian dictatorial regimes. President Trump has always followed the law and the Constitution with advice from many highly accomplished attorneys. These un-American witch hunts will fail, and President Trump will be reelected to the White House so he can save our country from the abuse, incompetence, and corruption that is running through the veins of our country at levels never seen before. 3 years ago, we had strong borders, energy independence, no inflation, and a great economy. Today, we are a nation in decline. President Trump will not be deterred by disgraceful and unprecedented political targeting. That was a statement from the Trump campaign. So again, my friends, by any means necessary, they will not let Donald Trump become president. Fortunately for our side, I think that every one of these indictments is backfiring. I think that it will not deter Republicans from voting for President Trump in the fall. And in fact, I think that this will only strengthen the resolve of Donald Trump's base. I mean, we're seeing it happen in real time. Every time an indictment comes, the polls go up. And I know I always say this, but you know, I like polls when they agree with me, and I think they're fake news when they disagree with me. Confirmation bias, maybe. But, you know, the numbers, they're there. They show him going up. And even more so, it's Mockingbird media that acknowledges the polls of Trump going up every time he's indicted. So, you know, that's my initial thoughts on this. We will have more coverage on the Donald Trump indictment, more audio, more reaction as the day goes along. But at 9:30, we're going to switch from the macro to the micro, and we're going to have mayoral candidate Alice Rowley in here. And we're going to talk about, you know, why the Democrat establishment in Nashville is afraid of her. They're scared of her. And any questions that you have for her, please feel free to text them. 615-737-9986. It is 9:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The U.S. credit rating takes a bit of a beating, and a stabbing suspect is on the loose in Williamson County. We'll have details at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. My name is Chris Hand. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I know what you're thinking with all the indictments and for Trump and news breaking with Hunter Biden. You know, what's Joe Biden doing in all of this? Where has he been? Well, luckily, the mainstream media is helping us, paint that picture.
The president is spending his evening with dinner and a movie. He just wrapped up dinner with the First Lady at a local seafood restaurant, and now he's at a movie theater watching Oppenheimer, of course, major motion picture about the development of the first atomic bomb. Now, the White House, for its part, as well as the Biden campaign, is sticking closely to that no-comment policy.
Oh, a no-comment policy. Okay, thanks. Good to know that he's only watching major motion pictures.
Yeah, of course.
Like Oppenheimer. He doesn't want to watch any low-budget, home movies like Sound of Freedom, right?
No, wouldn't want to do that.
Nobody wants to do the QAnon conspiracy thing. I listened to that news report, and this is all I could think of when I'm hearing how they're explaining Joe Biden and how he's spending his time.
Actually, pretty nice little Saturday. We're gonna go to Home Depot. Yeah, buy some wallpaper, maybe get some flooring. Stuff like that. Maybe Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have enough time.
I don't know. I don't know if we're going to have enough time for Bed Bath & Beyond, but we're going to pick some stuff out at the Home Depot.
Oh, that's great.
That's how Biden is spending his time when everything is going on around him. The man spends more time on vacation than anyone I know.
Easily.
It's like...
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
Next he's going to go see Barbie, I'm sure, Chris.
Oh, my gosh. I'm surprised that they didn't say he saw Barbie in the first place.
Same.
Like, oh, geez. I stand with feminism. Jeez. All right, so that's what Joe Biden's been doing. We do have Alice Rowley in studio, and she's going to be joining us next to talk about the Nashville mayoral race. Any questions you have for her, send them in, 615-737-9986. Not a softball interview. We're going to be pushing, bringing the heat, you know what I mean? Asking the hard questions, I guess. I mean, Alice seems really nice. I'm not just going to be a jerk to be a jerk, but hey, if you got a good question, send it in because I'm not afraid to ask that. The super text line is open at 615-737-9986. Send those texts in. 4333 said, come on, man, he's watching Barbie. Yeah, Joe Biden definitely probably watched Barbie. He probably already watched Barbie. He probably watched it, opening weekend. That's why he's just getting to Oppenheimer now. Yep. Also, earlier we were talking about the Trump indictments. 9986 texted in, said, Orange Man can't win it all. We all lose if he's the nominee. Thank you, 4049. Orange Man bad. Yes, those are the things. 0134 said, Joe Biden could watch some of Hunter's movies. I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know. He loves his son. It's the smartest guy he knows. So
big guy.
This is what we're doing. 615-737-9986. 9058 said, I'm sure Joe Biden is sleeping right now. He probably is.
Oh, for sure.
He's had a long day at the beach.
Come on. That vitamin D really takes it out of you.
It does. It does. It happens to the best of us. All right, 9:29. We're going to jump into the news, and we're back with Alice Rowley next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 9:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We're looking at clouds and 78 degrees now in Music City. A complete forecast is on the way. A Wall Street ratings agency downgrading the U.S. credit rating. Fitch Ratings citing increasing federal debt in 20 years of declining standards of governance in the United States. Here's ABC News chief business correspondent Rebecca Jarvis.
Just like everyone watching right now has a credit report that determines whether they can borrow money and how much they will pay to take on that new debt, the U.S. government has its own credit rating, and now for the first time since 2011, that rating has been downgraded. Fitch downgrading it from AAA status to AA+ status.
That is a developing story. Williamson County deputies, they're looking for a man who's wanted in connection with an overnight stabbing incident. According to the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, 50-year-old Ronnie Johnson, He is suspected of stabbing 2 people and should be considered armed and dangerous. It remains unknown the extent of injuries that the 2 victims sustained in that stabbing. Authorities urge the public to call 911 if Johnson is spotted. That is the latest news. We've got weather on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
One of the big words being thrown around in the investing world right now is this one. You may have heard it. Fiduciary. The idea that the investment advisor has to keep your interest first when they give advice. Now, it's being used in a marketing sense right now, and one of the things that I found fascinating, there was a study by the University of Southern California and Indiana University. They looked at investment advisor portfolios and they found that they were making basic academic mistakes in the management of their own portfolios. And the question that they asked was, if they can't even keep their own best interest first, how are they going to keep your best interest first? That was the question. Now, one of the things that we do at Paul Winkler Inc. is every one of our offices, 10 offices, is run by a degreed planner, number one. But we go way beyond the call of duty when it comes to fiduciary and making sure that we're using academically sound principles in investing. Evidence-based. In other words, it's backed by a lot of this is backed by Nobel Prize winning research. To learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
9:36 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, and I am joined by mayoral candidate Alice Rowley. Hello, Alice.
Hello, Chris. I'm delighted to be with you and all your listeners today. It is a gorgeous day. I'm going to be here with you and then out knocking on some doors, getting the vote out.
You just boots the pavement, hitting the Boot Leather Express.
That's right. We've gone through a couple pair of tennis shoes. Unlike one of my opponents, mine cannot be found for $950 on the internet. My mom brought me some new ones from TJ Maxx the day before yesterday.
I love it.
We're wearing them out.
I'm a big fan of TJ Maxx shoes. It kind of like takes the decision making out for you. You just sort of see like what's there in your size, and you're like, that'll work. That's good. This is the best I can do right now.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So you're running for mayor in Nashville. I read an article that the Democrats are afraid of you. You're scaring a lot of the blue aligned people downtown. And I meet you, and you're very nice, and you're very sweet. And I'm wondering how this nice woman can strike fear into the hearts of the Democratic establishment in Nashville. So what are you doing that's so scary?
Well, we are building and bringing together a governing coalition that doesn't want Nashville to go the route of other big cities. There are people, irrespective of their political party, that want to make sure that our kids are reading, that want to make sure our police are allowed to do their job, and that want to make sure that our city's finances are not in a place where we're doing things like selling protected parkland. So the downtown crowd is afraid of me because I have taken them on before and won. 3 mayors ago, our city was in such financial distress that we literally, through a 99-year lease, gave away our city's most protected historic parkland, Fort Negley. That is our city's Ellis Island, truly. And we gave it away to put 27 buildings on it when we don't have enough parkland. Right. And so we started a petition, worked with lots of members of the council, worked with people at the state. When you understand both the state law and the city law, you can be really effective at getting things done. And so I think they're afraid because they saw the kinds of groups that we brought together, and that Nashville's not for sale. We're not for sale, and we can take it back from the downtown crowd.
I love it. And you said something that just resonated with me. You said you want kids to read.
Yeah.
Downtown Nashville has one of the best public libraries that I've ever seen, right? Mm-hmm. But there's so much homeless in that area that you can't go into the bathroom in the lobby without running into homeless people using it as a public shower. What can you do to fix the scourge of homelessness downtown Nashville? And what are we doing? What would be your plan to eliminate some of these tent cities that are popping up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually got a call last night that another, in spite of the tremendous work of so many neighbors on the Brookmead encampment, there's a new encampment popping up behind the Five Guys, as I've been told, off Highway 70. So yeah, they're popping up all over. I want to start with your first question, which was kids reading in the downtown library. So if you are new to Nashville, I went to high school about 3 blocks from that library, and it wasn't there then. That was actually the Church Street Mall. You could go get bagels and bad pizza at lunchtime, and it was very, very 80s. And that, instead of asking our city, do we need another condo or cash register, we stepped back and said, what do great cities have and what do great cities need? And they have libraries, and that library was built. And so it's actually relatively new, but it is beautiful, and it is a reminder that what we see today can be different. And so on the question of homelessness, I do want to applaud Mayor Cooper and this council. We as a city used more COVID relief money than any other city in the country to work on issues of homelessness. As mayor, I will not stop the work that's being done now. There's about $50 million that have been appropriated, both to increase long-term housing and also short-term housing. But then the other issue is holding accountable. I think that where residents get frustrated is that when we see these bills come up in council, and when you step back and do the math and sort of say, hey, this nonprofit, based on the work that they're doing, is being paid about $80,000 per homeless individual. We sort of do the numbers and the math of how many people they're serving and how much money we're paying. And so I do think there needs to be a little bit more accountability. And I do think that this newly created Office of Homelessness will help bring some accountability so that the tail's not wagging the dog, but that we're really saying, what do people experiencing homelessness need? How do we get those services delivered, and how do we do it at scale? So we need to build more permanent supportive housing. We also need to work with the state effectively. And in this next session, I do believe that significant dollars will be put aside to build more beds for people that are having mental health problems. In the state of Tennessee right now, we only have about 500 beds for mental health treatment. We need about 5,000, and so we've got to start to say we're not alone in experiencing homelessness. How do we get to more of those support services? How do we build places? And then we've got to let police do their job.
Yep.
Right now, too frequently, we're taking the position that, and it is inhuman to say, we're not going to stop assaults. We're not going to stop drug dealing. We're not going to stop babies dying from fentanyl overdose in a homeless camp here. That happened here in this city, because we say we don't want to over police. Well, if there's crimes occurring, we need the police to be allowed to do their job.
That's just policing. That's not over policing.
That's right.
Do you fear, though, that homelessness is going to become big business in this area the same way it's become big business in California? So, like in California, if I run a nonprofit to fix homelessness and I pay myself $250,000 a year, I don't really have a lot of incentive to eliminate homelessness because I'm making $250,000 a year doing that. So do you have any fears? And how would you remedy that if it popped up that, fighting homelessness is becoming big business in Nashville?
Well, I think one of the remedies has been put in place starting July 1st with the creation of this new homeless services director to try to do, to your point, to insert some order into the process. But secondly, I think that some of our cities' most pivotal nonprofits, places like Oasis and United Way, Goodwill, I think we don't want to create a cottage industry of nonprofits. I think we want to say what's the result that we're getting and where are our largest partners with the greatest capacity for scale. Salvation Army, so many of the churches that have converted aspects of their church to shelter and then service centers for individuals having homelessness. So I do. I think it's a good question. Are there too many individual organizations, and how do we start to quarterback the goal and then find people with the ability to scale? And that is, I have served on the board of a number of nonprofits here, including, we were talking earlier, WPLN, NPR, and then I also served on the board of Teach for America, and then at the state level, had quite a few different portfolio programs with me. And one of the issues you frequently see in philanthropy is, to your point, if it's a single person nonprofit executive director, they spend half of their effort fundraising just for their salary.
Yep.
And so we do need to start to say the city is growing up, and we need to have scalable nonprofits to work with that can grow at capacity. And we have some, right? Like Contributor, I think, is doing great. There are many, but we've got to be careful that we don't become a cottage industry of small.
Yeah. A second ago, you said that we'd spent more COVID relief money on homelessness than any other city.
That's right.
I had a listener text in and said, ask her about all the tiny home kits that were purchased by Nashville during COVID for the homeless that are still in boxes in a warehouse.
Yes, that was in last night's council meeting, I believe, as well. Yeah, and that is, that is really endemic in government. We come up with an idea, we expend the money, and then we don't have the managerial follow through to say what happened to those houses, where did they go, and so I do think as much time needs to be spent on managing every idea and every plan and every dollar as it does coming up with the idea. So yeah, no, those houses need to be deployed. I mean, there's no reason it's yes, and we spent a ton of COVID money on buying things that sat in warehouses. I think in the schools that, there's intense frustration, right, of some of these contracts that were released for things that no one ever used.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a lot of texts in about the homeless issue.
Mm-hmm.
So 5547 texts in said, the homeless will not go into a safe place to sleep. So if the homeless aren't willing to accept the help, what would you do then?
Well, in the case of a homeless encampment on private property, the private property owner has to ask the city to act. And that is a challenge right now, that we do have a tremendous amount of land that's owned by outside investors that are not present here. And that's a pretty big frustration. So I would say we need, and actually it'll help us in some other areas too. Right, this is knowing state and local ordinance as well is important. Our city and other cities in the state are hamstrung by our ability to actually levy fines on individuals. So if I'm a developer who's sitting on a tract of land and it turns into a homeless encampment, and I don't take action to ask for or have it cleaned up, that can sit there, and the city is not able to levy a very large fine. I think the total fine we can levy is about $150. It's a Jacksonian era law that says that your maximum fines are $50. So we've got to change that law, because if fining someone is not where they just pay it and keep getting fined, and we see that with a lot of bad behavior of developers and otherwise. So we got to be able to fine people more so that they will help us too, because that is a challenge. Public land can be managed for homelessness in one way, but private land, if the private property owner doesn't allow us to clean it up, we're also a little bit stuck there too.
Cool.
So bigger fines for private property owners. The same way, look, last year I got a fine for not mowing. I mean, not a fine. I got a letter about the grass in my front yard wasn't mowed. Well, I have a patch of watermelons in the summer in my front yard, and I didn't mow it, and it was really funny. I thought it was pretty funny. Like, how come somebody had time to do that, but not work on a couple other things?
Yeah, anti-landscaping. Alice Rowley is in the
here.
Super Talk studios. All right, so it's Chris Hand with Alice Rowley, mayoral candidate for Nashville. What is your position on the landfill situations? A texter asks, 0202, said the landfill in Murfreesboro is closing at the end of the year. Southern Service landfill was not extended by Mayor Cooper, so they will only allow waste management trucks and will close soon. What is next for Nashville trash?
Yeah, we are going to, again, need to work with the Greater Nashville Regional Mayor's Council, because it's not just a Nashville problem. But secondly, we've also got to make an investment in reducing and diverting much of our food waste. And there have been some really good ideas out there that are now scalable. I think they're ready for us, where nearly half of our trash that goes to the landfill is compostable. And so getting that out, so think about all the food waste, right? Think about it in your own home. So getting that out and reducing our overall amount that's being sent to the landfill. And that's going to be a tough decision, but we are going to have to find more landfill space.
Okay, so just find more space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then divert what we can. Yeah, from on the compostable side, which I think actually makes a lot of sense. There's a lady who owns a restaurant in West Nashville called Mayoral, who's done a great amount of work on this. And our family's farm in West Nashville's been our family for 80 years. And we grow most of the vegetables that a lot of restaurants downtown use. And then the problem of where does it go afterwards, and how do we turn that into compostable soil that can come back on the farm?
Cool. I like that. A lot of people are asking also about your position on the Nashville Speedway. Mm-hmm. People are saying that they're thanking you for coming there.
Yep.
Where are you on the Speedway and the issues around it?
I believe I am the only one of the top 7 candidates, and right now we are surging. We're number 2. We need people to go vote tomorrow. People said we couldn't win, and let's do it. Let's surprise them. I need the folks. So I very clearly, you can go to my Facebook page at Vote Alice Rowley, or Instagram. You can see I've actually created, to make it so clear, videos showing me and supporting the fairgrounds. I spoke at the recent public hearing in favor of restoring the fairgrounds. I was the only candidate to do that. And again, when you talk about being brave, the rest of them are afraid. They are afraid. And the reality is in 2011, 70% of Nashville voters voted to keep racing at the fairgrounds and put it in the charter. And so we have this philosophy in Nashville, sort of demolition by neglect. We neglect things, we walk away from them, we don't invest in them, we don't do what we're supposed to do. And then we raise our hands decades later and say, well, we got to come in here and bulldoze it because y'all didn't keep up with it. We almost did that to the Ryman Auditorium downtown. It took a New York Times reporter, an architecture reporter, to come and write about sort of a funeral epilogue for the Ryman right before it was going to be destroyed to get the attention of this city. So I have been very clear in my support of the fairgrounds, and I would say no other candidate has. When you go look at people's financial disclosures, people say, Alice, you've been outraised. I have been outraised a lot because the hand in the cookie jar guys, they want to bulldoze that thing, and I don't.
I like it. Alice Rowley is running for mayor in Nashville. Get out and vote tomorrow. Alice, there was one more question.
Yes, sir.
Wendy sent in, she said we should send all the trash and waste to Alabama. Do you support that, or are you against that?
No, we can't do that.
All right,
yeah,
sorry.
I think we're gonna have to take care of it here.
All right, sorry, Wendy. It is 9:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Go out and vote for Alice Rowley if you can. If you're in the Nashville area, if you're not registered, go do that and go vote for Alice. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for the Dr. Gill Center. Listen, I've heard their commercials for years, and I know so many people that have dealt with opioid addiction, family and friends. It's crazy. It's scary, to be honest. And that's why I'm such a big supporter of the Dr. Gill Center. Don't take a pill, call Dr. Gill. Back pain, neck pain, knee pain, hip pain, elbow pain, all of it can be treated with no needles and no downtime. At the Dr. Gill Center, they've been helping people get back to pain-free life for over 30 years. And right now, the Dr. Gill Center wants to offer you a special offer if you're dealing with pain and looking for a non-surgical solution. So right now, $49 gets all your new patients, your initial exam, x-ray, and a complete review of findings. So less than $50 to find out what's causing your pain. Give the Dr. Gill Center in Franklin a call now and begin your journey in becoming pain-free. Call 615-882-4838. That's 615-882-4838 and tell them Chris Hand told you to call. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill.
Good morning. It is 10 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a mix of clouds and sun, 81 degrees on Music Row. A full forecast is on the way. A new indictment of former President Donald Trump accused of conspiring to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Here's former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani with more.
I think we may well see more charges, particularly against those co-conspirators. And it's going to be interesting to see if they cooperate or are already cooperating or flipped against the former president, or they're going to end up wrapped up in indictment.
The special counsel Jack Smith accusing Trump of spreading lies about the election to support a, quote, criminal scheme to stay in power. A Wall Street ratings agency downgrading the U.S. credit rating. Fitch Ratings citing increasing federal debt and 20 years of declining standards of government in the United States.
As this downgrade takes place, it makes it potentially harder for the government to borrow money and more expensive. Now, we haven't seen that play out yet, but if it were to, it would potentially raise taxes and create cuts in certain government spending, meaning fewer government programs in the future.
That's ABC's Rebecca Jarvis reporting. Here in Middle Tennessee, a Fort Campbell soldier who was charged with murdering his wife and harming their unborn child has been found guilty, according to a public affairs officer with the 101st Airborne. Sergeant Joe Santiago was found guilty of murdering his wife, Megan Santiago, and assault and bodily injury of a child. Sentencing proceedings for Santiago are set to begin today. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Here we go. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 10:05. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you once again to Alice Rowley for coming in and joining me on the show. Alice is running for mayor. Democrats are scared of her, so I think that's a good enough reason to vote for her. If I lived in the Metro Nashville area instead of Murfreesboro, I would vote for her. 2936 texted in, said, I have never heard anyone who always has her answers ready for any question that comes her way. Her answers always make common sense. I agree. And to be fair, and I'm 100% honest, we didn't go over any of that interview before it happened. And the questions that we asked were coming in via the super text line. So thank you for your texts. Thank you for your questions. The show is here for you. And I want to make sure that, that's first and foremost with this show as we move forward. And I'm sorry if I didn't get to your question. We only had a limited amount of time with Alice. But, I thought it was good. I like her. She seems nice. Seems sweet. Is that sexist to say?
She seems sweet.
She seems sweet.
No, she does. She seems really, really nice.
Yeah, no. She seemed genuine. So I'm
Yep.
cool. I'm cool with
Yep,
Alice.
from the heart.
Yep. All right. Moving on, as Dan Mandis would say.
Moving on.
All right. As you know, the big distraction campaign of 2023 is onward. And, we're not allowed to talk about Hunter Biden anymore or Devin Archer because the media doesn't want us to, and they've decided to indict Donald Trump again. It's awesome. But, that's where we're at. I don't want to have to talk about Donald Trump indictments. I said this earlier. But, that's the news. If you're just waking up to this and you haven't heard that Donald Trump was indicted, let me break it down to you. He was indicted because they're mad that Trump worked with his lawyers to find legal routes to challenge the outcome of the election. They're mad that Donald Trump thought he won the election and wanted to pursue every avenue to win. So they're really mad that Donald Trump has opinions and he had his lawyers working on it. So Orange Man bad is basically the crux of everything, in case you were wondering. And if you're keeping score at home, I think that's like 3 indictments so far. Jeez. And they think that it's going to deter people from voting for Trump. And to that, I say good luck. I think every indictment that comes in is just going to strengthen the resolve for Trump's base. Trump's campaign basically said that in a statement. And Mike Pence, good old shock therapy Mike Pence weighed in. And he said, today's indictment serves as an important reminder. Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. That's what he said in a statement. And then he said, I will have more to say about the government's case after reviewing the indictment. Mike, are you listening? Of course Mike's listening. Everybody listens. But if I was talking to Mike Pence, I'd be like, dude, nobody cares about you. Like, nobody does. Nobody likes you. Tucker ruined your career, and now you're putting nails in your own coffin. Like, am I wrong?
So savage, but so true.
Like, nobody cares about Mike Pence. Like, even when he was chosen as vice president, it was met with like a collective meh, all right. Nobody cares about you, Mike. So thank you for weighing in on that. Greg Gutfeld also weighed in on the Trump indictment, and here's what he had to say.
I enjoy looking forward to the future, but we keep being forced to live in the past. I enjoy looking forward to the future, but we keep being forced to live in the past, right? I now think that January 6th is never, ever, ever, ever going away because the media and the Democrats control the narrative, and they don't want it to go away because they will continue to use the Capitol, the events there, to exploit and score points against Republicans.
He's absolutely right. Why would you never let a good crisis go to waste? Greg Gutfeld, one of the only remaining guys that I like on Fox, because he's authentically himself, and he's right. There is such a value in hanging on to Jan 6 for the left, so they're not going to let that go. It's their golden goose that keeps laying eggs. They go to Jan 6 more than Republicans go to the Biden crime family.
It's not about the law. It's not even about what happened at the Capitol. It's just being able to reuse it over and over again. They don't care. They don't care about the law. If they cared about the law, where were they in those riots? And I have to use that example because, dozens of people died.
He's absolutely right. If they really cared about holding people accountable according to the law, where were they during the Summer of Love? Nowhere to be found. But a couple MAGA grandmas go inside the Capitol, and now Donald Trump needs to be indicted. And there was violence, sure. Probably feds in the crowd. Still waiting on the Ray Epps indictment. Probably probably going to be waiting until I'm like in my 80s. Yeah, I'll be long gone before they indict Ray Epps.
Right? And they certainly didn't care about the Ashley Babbitt when she died. So it's not really about the law, is it? We know that. All this is it's a political act. And why are they clinging to it? It's because Democrats right now, they have a real problem with issues. They suck on issues. No offense, Jessica. So they need to take you off the field with legal battles.
And that's what they're going to do. They're just going to try and take Trump off the field with legal battles. Slow him down by any means necessary. They did this during his presidency, too, with the Russia collusion hoax, which I mind you was fabricated via Hillary Clinton and the Steele dossier. But nothing happened to her. She wasn't trying to defraud the American public the way they say Trump was. But, you know, what rules for thee, but not for me. CNN is doing their usual spin. And Van Jones, old famous white lash Van Jones, he said, I feel kind of sick. Oh, poor Van Jones. I feel all day I had this giddy feeling that he's not going to be indicted, that when it actually happened, I remember sitting here with January 6th and watching the violence, watching what was going on and being shocked and appalled. If you had told me it would take 2.5 years before we as a country said that's not good, President Trump, that's not good. I mean, if you ask a 5th grade class, can you cheat to get your way? A 5th grade class will say you can't. Sorry. I'm trying to read this with a straight face. This is actual comments on the Trump indictment. Bringing up 5th grade class, Van Jones. A 5th grade class will say you can't cheat. Well, the federal government just told Donald Trump, you can't do that. It's just that simple. You are a fraud, sir, and you can't do that. You lied. You can't do that. You tried to cheat. You can't do that. I think normal Americans can understand this and will understand the gravity of what just happened. Yep. Normal Americans understand that CNN thinks Orange Man bad, and that left-wing NPCs, the non-playable characters, were just programmed by the media, will eat it up. They will just spoon feed me, baby. That's what they want. Yeah, tell Donald Trump. Even 5th graders know you can't do that. He continued, there's actual harm to our country if this type of thing becomes normal. If you look at this indictment, this is describing a coup attempt in our country. And so this is the 100 years from now that everybody is going to know about and look at. And if he gets away with it in our court system, shame on us. But this is the biggest, to your point, this is the biggest prosecution in the history of the country. Thank you, Van Jones. That's deep thoughts with Van Jones from CNN on the Trump indictment. Van Jones, man. You can always count on him to really boil down what's happening. 5th graders know they can't get away with that. Can't do that. Orange Man bad. All right, thanks, Van Jones. All right. That guy is such an idiot. All right, so Trump's lawyer, John Lauro, also weighed in on the indictment. Believe it or not, Trump's lawyer had a very different take than Van Jones.
Well, the president is strong and resolute. He has a fight in front of him, but this is the first time that in the history of the United States that the Justice Department has weaponized and politicized political speech. The president believes in his heart that he had not only responsibility, but the right as any American to contest issues in the 2020 election, to raise important facts that the public needed to know. And now that public policy, that advocacy is being prosecuted, and it's being prosecuted by his political opponent.
Exactly. He's being prosecuted by political opponents. If Donald Trump had gone after the Democrats the same way they're going after him, there would have been just screaming and crying from the rafters. People would have just been shocked. How could he do that? Oh, I mean, think about how shocked and obsessed they were when he just said, lock her up. I mean, never mind the scandals with the emails, never mind the Russia collusion hoax, never mind derailing his presidency for the first term with that Russia collusion hoax. No. But they're going after Trump the same way they said he would go after them and didn't.
Who controls the Justice Department and is using the tools, the sacred tools of the criminal justice system, to censor a political opponent in the middle of an election period.
election interference.
Where President Trump, by all polls, is leading, and at the same time, President Biden is facing an unbelievable, unprecedented scandal that goes directly to his ability to serve in office.
And, while he's facing that scandal, he's just taking some time off and getting his toes in the sand in Rehoboth Beach. That's what he's doing this week. Unbelievable.
We are on uncharted territory. We are in a constitutional abyss right now. But one thing about this indictment, we're gonna take it, look at it very, very carefully, but it addresses one major issue, and that's an attack on the First Amendment. That should never be allowed in this country.
But it is the only thing that is punished in this country is thought crimes. Thinking the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing. Thought criminals, beware. The Biden DOJ is after you. They're going to try and say that Trump knew he lost and that he defrauded the country because of it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But this is where we're at. This is the current state of the country. This is the current state of politics. I don't think it's going to get any better. I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. 615-737-9986 is the number to text in. 615-737-9986. So, Super Texter 1833 said, Chris, don't forget they let Hillary's lawyers go through her emails and turn over what they wanted to and delete the rest. Yeah, and her legal team also was on Reddit trying to figure out how they could acid wash servers. And they also took hammers to cell phones that the Justice Department requested. So, no big deal. NBD, man. No big deal. But with Trump, he could just say, I think I won this election, and I'm gonna come up with a plan with my lawyers to challenge this in court. And it's like, what? How could you do that? This is democracy. You're breaking democracy, Donald. So
you must go to jail.
Don't pass go. Do not collect $200. He's profiting off the presidency. He's passing go on his way to jail. So this is where we're at. Orange man bad. Joe Biden is a saint, and there's nothing there. You can't even ask the question. Never mind all the stuff, about voting machines and all that. Never mind that. Just focus on what's in front of us. They're mad that Donald Trump thought he won the election and wanted to push that in court. That's what they're mad about, and they're going after him because of it. And they're not going to stop. And we're now being told that Georgia is ready to go after him as well, the state of Georgia, for asking to find votes, which, again, is not illegal. But they've had barricades up around the courtroom for a week. The video came out a week, and they're just now saying, the indictment's ready. Could be here any day. And they're giving a timeline of possibly 3 weeks. So if anything new pops up with Hunter Biden in the next 3 weeks, they got a go-to in their back pocket. They're literally sitting on this stuff. The same way they sat on this indictment, waiting for a Hunter Biden thing to drop so that way they could distract us. And to their credit, to the left's credit, it works. Because here we are talking about Donald Trump's indictment instead of the crimes that have been committed by the Biden family. To their credit, to the left's credit, they are great at shaping the narrative. They are great at bending the media to their will. Donald Trump used to be able to do that when he was on Twitter. He used to be able to send out a tweet at 3 a.m. and completely upend the media narrative and have them talking about whatever he wants to talk about.
Be trending within hours.
Within hours.
Yep.
I think President Trump needs to get back on Twitter if he wants anything. I think you have to fish where the fish are. I think it's time. I doubt it's going to happen. I know he's big on Truth Social. But that's what he needs to do. Imagine if he tweeted out right now all of the evidence of Hunter Biden's crimes. The media would immediately stop talking about this indictment, and they would immediately be covering Donald Trump's on Twitter talking about Hunter Biden. There would be nothing else that they could cover.
That would take over the whole internet.
You have to play the game that's in front of you, right? And the game right now is shaping media narratives. Van Jones is out there saying, a fifth grader will tell you what Donald Trump did was wrong. So, upend the narrative. I think that we need the man back on Twitter. I think if he did that today, we could be talking about Hunter Biden tomorrow. But until he starts paying attention to that again, the Democrats are in control of the narrative machine. And they're sitting on indictments, waiting to just change the narrative again. That's what the left does. Political persecution. We live in a banana republic, my friends. So, I don't know. I didn't want to say banana republic today because of all the Lizzo news, but we're in a banana republic. It's 10:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social, at Chris Hand on air. And we'll be right back on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The White House reacts to the U.S. credit rating downgrade and a scam email warning. Those stories at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. Remember, the credit downgrading just means Bidenomics is working. That means it's working. So, just in case.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you, Chris. I was wondering.
Yeah, it means it's working. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. All right, I mentioned the Lizzo thing, and then I got a bunch of texts asking what's going on with Lizzo. I mean, despite her being brave and beautiful, pop star and Joe Biden campaigner herself, Lizzo, she's getting hit with a lawsuit. Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Dude, all right.
Wow.
So 3 former tour dancers are accusing Lizzo of sexual harassment in a hostile work environment. They also claim that they were pressured to touch nude dancers during a show. Ugh. It gets really gross. So one of them are saying that Lizzo began inviting cast members to take turns touching the nude performers, catching sex toys launched from the performers' private areas, and forcing them to eat bananas protruding from the performers' private areas.
Forcing them? Oh, come on.
Eat bananas, yep. I'm as shocked as you are. She has fruit on tour. This is crazy. I mean, everybody's fat shaming her, and she has bananas on deck.
She's trying. She's got the potassium.
There's a lot of... It's disgusting. It's disgusting. So that's what Lizzo's doing. So brave. So beautiful.
She's body shaming them too, right? And isn't that part of the lawsuit too? They were...
I don't know. They lost me at the banana part.
You just... fair
I
enough.
stopped there.
Fair
I
enough.
said, I don't need any more of this. Another story, in case you missed it, with all the distractions of the media, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but COVID is back.
If you've noticed more of your friends, neighbors, loved ones are testing positive for COVID, you're not alone.
Actually, my friends, neighbors, and loved ones don't even test for COVID. It seems like a square thing to do.
According to the CDC, COVID-19 hospitalizations are up 12% from last week. And while we're nowhere near any previous levels, it's still raising concerns.
Thank goodness.
Joining us now with more is Dr. Kavita Patel, who served as a White House policy director in the
let's
Obama
hear from Dr.
administration. She is
Kavita.
an MSNBC medical contributor. Dr. Patel, it's always great seeing you. So I think we've kind of all been noticing that, right?
Everybody's been noticing. It's been dominating the public conversation. It's back. This is the sequel.
There's someone you know, or people are, think they have a cold and it ends up being COVID.
That happens all the time to me.
Yep.
I think I got
All
the
the
sniffles and then bam, it's COVID.
Well, we're seeing the same thing, Jose, in clinic. We are, as you said, hospitalizations going up. Let me just start with some good news. We are not seeing anywhere near the dramatic rises that we saw in previous summers or previous years. That's good news. That's because a large part of the population, Jose, has already either been infected and vaccinated or...
Wait. She led with the old definition of herd immunity because a lot of the population has already been infected. Weird.
A large part of the population, Jose, has already either been infected and vaccinated or both several times.
Several times.
What I think people need to know is that I would just keep people on alert that when you're in those crowded spaces, think about the coughs and the colds, and sometimes many people don't even have any symptoms.
What? You can have COVID without any symptoms?
A mask can be your best friend.
Nope. She lost me. She lost me right there.
A mask can be your best friend.
Nope. Not my best friend at all.
A mask can be your best friend. Keep it private. Back in time, we've had them in our pockets, in our coats, in our backpacks. Time to bring them out again.
Nope. Not going to do it.
I'm good.
Yeah, hard pass. Thank you, doctor, whatever your name is.
Talk about being square, having a mask
Oh
as your
my
best
God.
friend.
Who keeps a mask in their pocket anymore? Unless you're a landscaper and you're just don't want dirt in your mouth. Keep it in your pocket. Come on.
Time to bring them out again?
No, not going to bring it out again. Nothing that the medical establishment can tell me about masking is going to change my mind. I saw a kid, the nice kid, suffered from Down syndrome. This is when I knew masking was done for me. We were standing in line, and he blew his nose in his mask, and he left it on. And I said to myself, this is the issue right here. Especially with kids. They're little kids are gross.
Very.
Just gross individuals. I have 4 of them. Trust me.
You know.
They're disgusting. And to force them to wear a mask all day, which is only going to get dirty and gross, that is the worst idea. So, I don't know. If you or a loved one is testing for COVID, I don't know, man. I don't know. Not something I'm going to do.
So you're saying your kids' best friends aren't masks?
No. Turns out, spoiler alert, no, that's not their best friends. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 10:30, and it's your best news friend. I'm Jay Harper with top stories. We got a mix of clouds and sun, 81 degrees, a complete forecast here in a couple of minutes. Fitch Ratings, a Wall Street rating agency, has downgraded the U.S. credit rating.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said the move by Fitch to downgrade the government credit rating from AAA to AA+ is, quote, arbitrary and based on outdated data. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the White House strongly disagrees with this decision by the ratings agency. Other administration officials called the downgrade, quote, bizarre and baseless, and said it, quote, defies common sense. Fitch cited rising debt at all levels of government, federal, state, and local, and a, quote, steady deterioration in standards of governance over the past 2 decades as a reason for its decision.
That's ABC's Karen Travers. The world's largest online retailer issuing a familiar warning to consumers. Watch out for those scam emails. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
The email looks very convincing, right down to the familiar Amazon smile logo. The item you ordered on Prime Day, it says, cannot be delivered until you update your payment information. Concerned, you call the customer service number mentioned in the email and walk right into a scammer's trap. The Federal Trade Commission says Amazon is now the #1 most impersonated brand, with Amazon email scams quickly becoming a top tactic for fraudsters, to the tune of $27 million in the last 18 months alone.
That is the latest news. Weather's on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
One of the big words being thrown around in the investing world right now is this one. You may have heard it. Fiduciary. The idea that the investment advisor has to keep your interest first when they give advice. Now, it's being used in a marketing sense right now, and one of the things that I found fascinating, there was a study by the University of Southern California and Indiana University. They looked at investment advisor portfolios and they found that they were making basic academic mistakes in the management of their own portfolios. And the question that they asked was, if they can't even keep their own best interest first, how are they going to keep your best interest first? That was the question. Now, one of the things that we do at Paul Winkler Inc. is every one of our offices, 10 offices, is run by a degreed planner, #1. But we go way beyond the call of duty when it comes to fiduciary and making sure that we're using academically sound principles in investing. Evidence-based. In other words, a lot of this is backed by Nobel Prize winning research. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 1036, second day of August. Hey, don't forget, August 15th, Super Talk live event, J Street Korean Bar and Grill and Bar. Sorry, I always get that backwards. Hendersonville, 6 p.m. We want you to come join us. Talk politics. Brian's going to do a couple hours of his show out there. We're going to have an all-you-can-eat spread. It's going to be awesome, okay? Get your tickets at 997WTN.com. And get this, if you use promo code Chris, you can save $15 on tickets. Promo code Chris. Don't tell anybody. I'm actually kidding. Tell everybody. And go buy some tickets at 997WTN.com. Okay, so I had mentioned this, I don't know what day it was. All my days melt together. I have so many kids. I'm so tired. But so all my days melt together. But a couple days ago, I mentioned be aware that while all of the scandals are happening with Biden, that Kamala Harris is going to be positioning herself out in the front of everything. Because Biden, they're going to be looking into impeachment. He could step down eventually because of all the scandals. And, Kamala is going to take this opportunity, like she's taken every opportunity she's ever had, to advance her political career. So she has been stepping out and making the rounds, if you will. She actually spoke at a Baptist church somewhere in the South, somewhere. I don't know where it was. That's not important. I don't care where she was. But she was speaking in front of a group of people, trying to basically show everybody how great she is. And she had this to say.
But significantly, the members of this church saw what could be, unburdened by what had been.
Yeah, and I heard her say that, and I was like, man, I feel like I've heard that before. So then I started doing my due diligence, as I'm known to do. And you know what? She has said that before. She said it a lot.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. What can 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 be unburdened by what has been.
You like the piano?
We can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What
keeps
can
going.
be unburdened by what has been. Who we can be unburdened by who we have been. What can be unburdened by what has been. Where we can be unburdened by where we have been and unburdened by where we are right now. What can be unburdened by what has been.
All right, so
What
Kamala
can be
Harris,
unburdened by what has been. What can be,
like I said, she's got to focus on what can be unburdened by what has been, and it fits into the theme because what can be is if Biden gets impeached or steps down, well, we can have a Kamala presidency, and hopefully that would be unburdened by what has been. You know what I mean?
Every time she says it like it's the first time.
And she does it too. She does the same hand motions every time. She like raises up one hand, what can be, and then she lowers her other hand, unburdened by what has been.
Oh,
it's like even the choreography lines up every time she says it. Like, I know she doesn't read the notes from her team. I know that she doesn't do her due diligence. But wouldn't you think somebody would say to her, please don't say that anymore? Like, remember when Jen Psaki, the press secretary before Cringe Jean-Pierre, kept saying, circle back. Like, even she made a joke out of it at a certain point. And she's like, I'm going to stop saying that because that's all I say. I feel like Kamala Harris needs to work on that. And despite Kamala's shortcomings, Democrat voters are more enthusiastic about Kamala than Biden. They can see what can be, and they're unburdened by what has been. So apparently, a new poll shows worrying signs for President Biden, and even though his party is more on board. So New York Times Siena College poll found that just 20% of Democrats said they'd be enthusiastic with Biden as the party's 2024 nominee. I think that's really high. But again, this is what I do with polls. Polls I don't like. I disagree with. Polls I like, I agree with. I think 20% is very high. But with a bigger number of people polled said they would be more enthusiastic if Kamala was the president. 26%. That's 6 points saying they'd be pumped if Vice President Kamala Harris topped the ticket. Yeah. 26% said they'd be enthusiastic about her becoming the nominee, while 41% said they'd be satisfied, but not enthusiastic. Well, luckily she's going to be, unburdened by what has been.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. What can
We
be.
do know. We do.
Unburdened by what has been. What can
And just
be.
5%
Unburdened
said they'd be upset
by what has been.
with Harris leading the ticket.
Unburdened by
And
what has been.
22% said they'd be dissatisfied with Kamala Harris.
Unburdened by what
But
has
she's
been.
focused on what can be.
Can see what we believe.
All right. That's enough Kamala Harris for the day. Once again, we didn't do the laugh because I know everybody on the super text line doesn't like the laugh. So we don't do it. 615-737-9986 if you want to weigh in. Super texter 9489 said, it sounds like something she thought of when she was high and wrote it down so she wouldn't forget it, and she keeps repeating it. It's like the only note that she's taken
Literally.
during her time as vice president. I will say, to her defense, and I will shout this from the mountaintops, she is the best female vice president we've ever had.
Easily.
Easily. Like, hands down. All right, so while all this is going on, Kamala Harris sees the opening. She knows that Biden is in big trouble. And I don't know why she can see the opening, but other Democrats just keep defending Joe Biden. Democrat Rep Jim Himes says there's just no evidence that Joe Biden was involved in these influence peddling schemes by Hunter Biden.
On the topic of a Biden impeachment, look, if impeachable crimes are surfaced, if they are surfaced, and I say this as a Democrat, fine. They have found no evidence whatsoever that there are impeachable crimes.
Oh, okay. Thanks for clearing it up, Rep Jim Himes. There apparently is no evidence that Joe Biden did anything wrong. So, in case you were wondering what the evidence was, there's none. Okay. But Trump, on the other hand, I mean, if you say something like this, you're going to be indicted.
We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
What a monster. Indict that man. Speaking of Trump's indictment, I was actually impressed. Vivek Ramaswamy, and I probably butchered his name, just like everybody else in conservative media butchers his name. But I do like Vivek. He's going to be on with Matt Murphy today at 12:05. But he responded to the Trump indictment last night on this thing called the internet.
It's another sad moment in our country's history. The 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump, has yet again been indicted by the Biden DOJ, a political party in power that is now repeatedly using police force to indict and arrest and potentially eliminate its political opponents from competition. This is a politicized prosecution. It is a political persecution through prosecution, now in a third indictment just in a matter of months against the person who is still at present the lead contender in the Republican primary for U.S. president.
You know, I have a lot of respect for Vivek. Everybody else is just trying to pile on Trump and say he can't win. And Vivek goes out there and says, no, he's the leader. He's the leader in the Republican nominee race. Like, that's awesome. That's big. You know, Mike Pence takes a stand and says, oh, this indictment shows no president is above the Constitution. Okay. Thanks, Mike. But Vivek, I mean, that's a man of integrity. You know, I've said it numerous times. I like Trump. I like RFK Jr. And I like them because I think that they're authentic and I think they say what they mean. And I'm going to go ahead and add Vivek into that category. I don't think that he is saying anything he doesn't mean on his campaign trail. Period. I think he honestly believes everything he says. And even if I disagree with him on certain topics, I can't disagree that he's making them up or he's saying things for political clout or to gain support. I think he's just saying what he truly believes in. I think that that's rare in today's political climate. But Vivek goes on and continues to defend Trump.
I want to be very clear. I am running for U.S. president in that same Republican primary. It would be easier for me if Donald Trump were eliminated from competition. That's not how I want to win. This is not about politics to me. This is about first principles. We do not want to become a country where the party in power is able to use banana republic-like tactics to eliminate its political opponents.
Again, I just think that he's a man of integrity. It would absolutely be easier for Vivek to run for president if Trump was out of the running. Hands down, full stop. Everybody knows that. And I would argue that Vivek would get the nominee over DeSantis because I think DeSantis is he's just diet Trump. He is, he was made in a lab by the neocon establishment to be the successor to Trump. And he started liking the smell of his own farts and decided to step out too early. That's my own opinion. It doesn't have to be the opinion of everyone. And I'm happy with, debate. But I think Vivek makes a great point. It's easier for him if Trump is out of the race. But still, he will stand there and say that this is wrong. Because it is. It's absolutely wrong. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Alina Habba hopped on Fox News to talk about the Trump indictment. Here's what she had to say.
How are they going to prove that he was lying when he said it was dirty?
That's right. The thing about a criminal level indictment and charge is you have to prove the intent, the mental state of the president at the time, which everybody that knows Donald Trump and has read his truths know. He still believes the election was stolen, and he has good cause to believe so. I also want to invite Jack Smith to look at the recent decision that we got yesterday, which dismissed Donald Trump from exactly this, defaming somebody by free speech in the First Amendment for election interference, and we won. So I'm sorry, Jack, you got to do your research a little clearer before you write an indictment. He should have been up on that.
All right,
but he's going to have a tough battle.
It is going to be a tough battle. How can you prove the president's intent or thought process? I mean, you can't. And you can look at any of the statements that he made. He truly believes that the election was rigged and that he thinks he won. Truly believes it. You can't argue with the fact that that's what Trump believes. You can argue the election with him. That's fine. I'm not going to argue that with you. But everyone truly believes that Trump truly believes that he won that election. 9058 texted in and said, I'd say Vivek should be vice president. I agree. I think Vivek would be a great vice president. However, me personally, I would like to see Carrie Lake or Candace Owens. That's just me. Like in a dream scenario, I think Candace Owens would be an absolute firecracker. Could you imagine? In just the debates alone, Trump, Biden 2, and then Candace Owens versus Kamala Harris. I mean, the way Kamala's been clinging to the race card lately to be relevant, could you imagine Candace Owens being there to just slap her down? Because it would be. It would be a slap down, and it would be ruthless. It would be absolutely ruthless. But Kamala, man, she thinks that she has a real shot. She's not saying it out loud, but, she's going to be unburdened by what has been and looking forward to what can be.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be.
I mean, it's so good.
Unburdened by what has been. What?
Oh, if she didn't have rocks in her head, she wouldn't have anything up there. It is 10:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. This is the Chris Hand Show. Thank you for being here. Hey, it's Chris Hand for Paul Winkler, Inc. I have 4 kids, a wonderful wife, so we got a plan for the future. Me and my wife talk about it all the time. We need a financial plan. And until I met Paul Winkler and his team, I'll be honest with you, my plan was loose and fast. I didn't really have much of a plan at all. Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required. And because of that, the government regulators require that I tell you that I'm paid every time this commercial airs. But it's because that I had a chance to sit down with Paul, have some lunch with him, have my questions answered. That's why I decided to become a client myself. I'm impressed. Paul's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do. And with Paul and his team, nothing is done on commission. They're big on education. He's made my financial goals for me, my wife, my family way more realistic by explaining what to do and why. The investment education is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research. It may sound like a ton of big words, but Paul makes it really simple to understand. You should check these guys out. Every office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years experience. You can feel the difference between Paul's team and the rest. Experience equals confidence. So do what I did. Talk to one of his team members. You can set up a 15-minute phone call today on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or call 615-851-1950.
Another indictment of Donald Trump, a downgrade of the U.S. credit rating, and in Nashville, license plate reader legislation, the topic of discussion. Those stories and more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Chris Hand on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We keep getting these texts from 0636 just roasting us for saying we're protecting Donald Trump. I would like to direct you to this tweet from Victor Davis Hanson. Special counsel Jack Smith added new indictments against Donald Trump, among them conspiratorially, unlawfully discounting legitimate votes. Was Smith here referencing Stacey Abrams, who for years claimed she was the real governor of Georgia, barnstorming the country to overturn the vote count? Or maybe Smith referred to ex-President Jimmy Carter. He discounted the 2016 vote by claiming Trump won only due to Russians. Or did Smith mean Hillary Clinton, who discounted Trump as an illegitimate president and prompting people to join her resistance against the elected president? Or maybe Smith meant the Hollywood crowd, who cut commercials after the 2016 election, begging viewers to pressure the electors to refuse their constitutional duties to honor their state's popular vote, and instead, insurrectionary fashion, vote for Hillary Clinton. Or was Smith thinking of the 32 Democrat House members and Senator Barbara Boxer in January 2005, who tried to toss out the legally certified vote in Ohio to swing the election to John Kerry? Or maybe Smith was referencing Molly Ball's 2021 Time essay when she bragged of the 2020 cabal and conspiracy hashed by the Democrats, Silicon Valley, and corporatists to spend $500 million to change state voting laws, censor the news, modulate the 2020 street protests, and absorb the work of the state precinct workers. I don't know, maybe. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 11 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds and 82 degrees. We'll get that full forecast to you here momentarily. Donald Trump slammed with a third criminal indictment yesterday. These charges connected to alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Here's ABC's Catherine Falders with more.
Rudy Giuliani, the indictment alleges that he was knowingly spreading false information. John Eastman, another one of those lawyers who was advising Trump in the lead up to January 6th and implementing a plan where he believed that the former vice president could halt the certification of the election, for example, on Capitol Hill.
The special counsel also listing 6 unnamed co-conspirators. A Wall Street ratings agency downgrading the U.S. credit rating, Fitch Ratings, citing increasing federal debt and 20 years of declining standards of governance. The U.S. government has about $31 trillion in debt. That debt's growing, and it's expected to exceed the total size of the U.S. economy at some point. And as this downgrade takes place, it makes it potentially harder for the government to borrow money and more expensive. Right now in Nashville, license plate reader camera legislation is on hold until the next Metro Council meeting. Members of 2 committees voted to defer voting yesterday, citing a need for more time to review data from a 6-month pilot program, which some groups think shows minorities and low-income communities were targeted. Channel 4 talked to community members like Ifiana Di Sevilva.
We're able to see tonight from the maps how it disproportionately is focusing on Black and brown and low-income communities. I do want to see crimes being solved, but for everyone and not just against us. I don't want us to just be targeted.
During a special meeting yesterday afternoon, police said 71 million license plates were read, and that resulted in 112 arrests. That is the latest news. We've got weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Interference, though.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand. So Trump is in trouble. He's been busted for thinking he won the election. You know, Democrats would never do anything like that, right? Of course not. Of course not.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
Oh, weird. Democrats do that?
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's the real
what I'm
thing.
scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy for the sole purpose of artificially placing someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They were successful.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate
You know, I could actually let this play underneath me this entire break. 24 minutes, 24 straight minutes of Democrats denying election results.
I do.
24 minutes of it. But nothing new. Democrats would never question democracy. So where are we today? Well, you know, Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devin Archer, basically confirmed that the big guy is Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the brand. He was on the phone with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was on the phone with Hunter Biden's business associates, the corrupt business associates, the oligarchs. So what happens? Well, of course, what happens anytime some big scandal around the Bidens breaks out? Well, Trump gets indicted. That's their move. That's always their move. Shape the media narrative, distract, and move the ball down the field. Right? Let's memory hole all of the scandals from the Bidens, and let's focus on Trump. So special counsel Jack Smith announced Tuesday evening that a grand jury in Washington, D.C. has indicted him on former charges relating to January 6th. Now, from the indictment, despite having lost, the defendant was determined to stay in power. So for more than 2 months following Election Day on November 3rd, 2020, the defendant spread lies that had been outcome determinative fraud in the election that he actually won. These claims were false, and the defendant knew they were false. So would Hillary be in trouble because she said that Russia is the only reason that Trump won in 2016?
When it comes to his being president, is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North.
And then all the electors objected. It was Russia. But the Democrats knew that the Steele dossier was garbage. That it was funded by Hillary's campaign. They knew that. But we don't see any charges there. I mean, and we have the receipts for that. We have the whistleblowers. All the statements. But nothing. So the indictment against Trump doesn't indicate how prosecutors are able to establish that Trump himself believed that he lost, other than the fact that he had been informed by others that his suspicions of fraud were false. But in the indictment, it doesn't say why it's wrong for Trump to think that he won, and it's okay for Hillary to spread the Russia collusion hoax that hamstrung the presidency for, 2.5, 3 years? It is unbelievable, the hypocrisy that people deal with. 615-737-9986 is the number to weigh in on the super text line. 4296 texted in, said, we must all be Russians in 2016 then. Yes. 1833 said Trump should have blamed Russia. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. But we should have expected this. When they said the indictment was looming, we knew that they were going to drop it as soon as they needed to change the narrative away from the Biden crime family. And so we find out that, Trump is being charged because they're mad that Trump worked with lawyers to find legal routes to change the outcome of the election. It's all thought crime. They're mad that Trump thought he won the election and wanted to pursue every avenue to win. They are mad because he had his lawyers working on a case that he had an opinion on. Interesting stuff. The Trump campaign statement was pretty good. They said, "This is nothing more than the latest corrupt chapter in the continued pathetic attempt by the Biden crime family and their weaponized Department of Justice to interfere with the 2024 presidential election, in which President Trump is the undisputed frontrunner and leading by substantial margins." The statement goes on, "But why did they wait 2.5 years to bring these fake charges right in the middle of President Trump's winning campaign for 2024? Why was it announced the day after the big crooked Joe Biden scandal broke out from the halls of Congress?" Well, the answer is election interference. The lawlessness of these persecutions of President Trump and his supporters is reminiscent of Nazi Germany in the 1930s, the former Soviet Union, and other authoritarian dictatorial regimes. President Trump has always followed the law and the Constitution with advice from many highly accomplished attorneys. These un-American witch hunts will fail, and President Trump will be reelected to the White House so he can save our country from the abuse, incompetence, and corruption that is running through the veins of our country at levels never seen before. 3 years ago, we had strong borders, energy independence, no inflation, and a great economy. Today, we are a nation in decline. President Trump will not be deterred by disgraceful and unprecedented political targeting. Do you think that President Trump will be deterred? I don't think any of this is going to slow him down. I don't think any of this is even going to surprise him. But the Democrats will shout, he's stealing the democracy again. Oh, anything for democracy. But here we are. More indictments. More scandals for the Bidens. And again, the indictments are looming in Georgia for Trump asking to find more votes. It's unbelievable. They put barricades up around that courthouse over a week ago. I saw the video with my own eyes. They'll tell you that this is just happening now, but they've been waiting to drop the Georgia indictment, and they'll continue to wait because they want to use it as a distraction.
0622 on the super text line said, "I agree with what you're saying. So what? Now what? How do we make it right? Is our country gone?"
I don't think the country's gone. I think the only way to make it right is just to vote in overwhelming numbers come 2024, whether Trump is the nominee or it's Vivek Ramaswamy or whoever. It's going to be Trump, but I don't think any of this is going to deter anyone. Yeah, we're absolutely a banana republic, but I think that we need to use these moments and go full Democrat and never let a crisis go to waste. Use this as a red pill moment for your normie NPC friends. Play them the 24 minutes of Democrats denying the election. You know?
He tweeted in February 2018, quote, "The more we learn about the 2016 election, the more illegitimate it becomes. America deserves to know whether we have a fake president in the Oval Office."
The Russian attempt to have the election, and frankly, the FBI is weighing in on the election.
Remind them that it was Russian hackers were the reason why Trump won in 2016, and that it was totally okay for everybody to scream it from the mountaintops, even though it was a lie, proven lie. The Mueller report. Oh, everybody was so gung-ho about the Mueller report on the left. Wait until Mueller gets here. You know, they put the pictures online with the old laser eyes on Mueller, thinking that would be the end. The walls are closing in on Trump. The left is doing the same thing again, but they're flipping it and saying, Trump, he had to admit that he lost in 2020. How could he do that? He knew he lost. Hillary knew she lost. Hillary funded the whole dossier that started the Russia collusion hoax. Funded it. Hillary shouldn't have even been the nominee to begin with. It should have been Bernie Sanders, and Seth Rich proved all of that, and he got taken out for that. But, what do I know? I'm just a humble radio DJ.
DJ.
Yeah, I'm just one of them disc jockeys. So, I think that we need to use this as a red pill moment. Remind people that Stacey Abrams was running around screaming that she was the duly elected governor of Georgia when she lost. This is what Democrats do. They say all of these things, and then they project onto you what they're really doing. It's a classic Democrat playbook.
They gaslight.
They gaslight.
Yeah.
And also, let's take the blessings where we can get them and realize that the rhinos are out there and they're outing themselves. Anybody that doesn't have Trump's back right now is a rhino. When you see Mike Pence saying, "Oh, this just shows no president is above the Constitution," like, thanks, Mike. Awesome. Like, we know whose side you're on now. Thank you for revealing yourself. And DeSantis will slightly try to defend Trump, but he doesn't go full bore. He doesn't do what Vivek Ramaswamy did and basically say, yeah, it would be easier for me to win the presidency if Trump was out, but this is wrong.
I want to be very clear. I am running for U.S. president in that same Republican primary. It would be easier for me if Donald Trump were eliminated from competition. That's not how I want to win. This is not about politics to me. This is about first principles.
And I appreciate Vivek for being principled. Also, a programming note reminder, he will be on with Matt Murphy today at 12:05 to discuss the release of the Covenant School Shooting Manifesto. That's going to be must-listen-to radio. But I do want to remind you also, Biden, quite a long time ago, promised that they would go after Trump with every option they had legally to get him to make sure that he couldn't run for president. And again, Biden admits to all this stuff on camera, and it's like the Democrats don't know the internet exists and that we can pull this stuff and find it.
G7 conversation was tied to your predecessor, who is about to launch another campaign. So how do you reassure them, if that is the reason for their questioning, that the former president will not return, or that his political movement, which is still very strong, will not once again take power in the United States?
Well, we just have to demonstrate that he will not take power by, if he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
Yeah, I don't know how legitimate the efforts are, but they definitely are making efforts in that direction right now. That was Biden before Trump even announced that he was running. Everybody knew he was going to run, but that was before he announced. 9800 texted in and said, the Democrats have figured out that they don't have to prove anything. You just have to make the accusations, and the rest of the Republicans will stay at arm's length so as not to get caught up in the fray. You're absolutely right. The Republicans are spineless. Most of the Republicans are soft. They're just weak, and I'll be the first to admit it. They're soft. They're soft. Like, where's Mitch McConnell through all this? I mean, I know he's not in any mental capacity or shape to do anything, but where is the Republican leadership? Kevin McCarthy said that they'd come out and do an impeachment inquiry, which is great, but it doesn't do anything. Like, other than James Comer, Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and a handful of others, the Republicans are weak. They don't know how to win. Trump nailed it years ago when he said the Republican Party doesn't know how to win. They don't. They don't even know how to deal with accusations. 9800 said it great. The Democrats figured out you don't have to prove anything. Just make the accusations, and the rest of the Republicans will stay at arm's length as to not get caught up in the fray. It's because a lot of these Republicans care more about their paycheck than they care about the country. Just being honest. At least it seems that way. 8548 texted in and said, Hillary knew before the election she was beaten. Remember, the weekend before the election, her campaign canceled her fireworks celebration for election night. Apparently, her campaign had seen insider polling. Yeah, I mean, and apparently also there were rumors that she was having a screaming fit because she didn't get to break that glass ceiling at her big party, at her big reveal. Happy birthday to that future president. 2936 texted in and said, we are a banana republic. The Democrats won't stop monkeying with stuff. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Kathy texted in, Chris, don't you get it? It was okay for the left to question Trump's election because they think that really was an illegitimate election. Yep, very illegitimate. If the American public vote for someone, it's illegitimate.
We got a super text from 6613. Another question. Do you think that Trump's lawyers will play a clip like that 20-plus minute clip of showing all of the Democrats saying that 2016 was rigged? You think that they'll show that to the Democrats, that they denied the election results as well?
They would just say it was taken out of context, even if they did.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be like, we were only dealing with the information that we knew at the time, even though Hillary literally funded the Steele dossier. Old pantsuit. She's crazy, man. All right, Billy texted in and said, it's over. We are letting a small section of liberals, LGBTQs, and the corrupt section of the Dems destroy our country. I don't think it's over. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, but I don't want to just give up just yet. But I definitely do agree. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Randy texted in and said, Chris, I agree we live in a banana republic, but we just dress nicer. I don't know. Speak for yourself, Randy. I dress full banana republic.
Go to Super Talk TV. You'll see.
Yeah, 8410. Republicans are scared of the truth, scared to take on the Democrats, and because they're scared to lose power in order to hold accountability. That's what a lot of this is. Always comes down to power. Power and paychecks. Unfortunately. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7.
A man who was on Nashville's most wanted list is now in the We've Got Him list, and we'll have an update on today's money news. I'll have that all at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Jay, can you give me a little spoiler? Is it good money news or bad money news?
Well, kind of a mixed bag, shall we say.
Come on, Jay. Don't do that to me, man. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 11:25. My name is Chris Hand. We were talking about spineless Republicans. And the text started rolling in. 1833 texted in, said Tucker would be showing all these clips, talking about the clips of all of the election denying that was done by Democrats. Saying Tucker would show all of these clips, and he showed how spineless the Republicans are all the time. And yeah, that's probably why they got rid of Tucker. Yeah. You know, thought crime are the only crimes you get punished for. 7248 texted in, had some good points. Republicans across America should be getting involved in the election process. Sign up to be a poll watcher. Yes, do it. Get involved. I think Republicans everywhere should be getting more involved in all aspects of local government. Sign up to be a poll watcher. Get involved in your kids' school board meetings. Do all the things, all of them. It's free. Find some time, make it happen, because that will make a difference. The micro changes that we can do, like signing up to be a poll watcher, getting involved in the election process, getting involved in the schools, getting involved in the city council meetings, those micro actions will become macro actions as you go. You know, you throw a rock in the water, and it's like it starts with a small ripple, and then as it goes out, it gets bigger. You start locally in your community, and it will ripple out into big gains. And I think that grassroots movements like that, that's how they start. Be a poll watcher. Go to your city council meeting. Question your mayor. Ask your elected officials what they're doing. Hold them accountable. Everybody can do that. Everybody can do that. 615-737-9986 if you want to text in and be part of the show. I got a text from 5751. Hey, Chris, the Republicans are spineless. They impeached Trump on a phone call, but yet they won't impeach Biden on all this corruption. The Democratic Party needs a sweater tattooed on their forehead. Yep. All right. I don't know about sweater tattoos, but I don't know what that's referencing, but all right.
Yeah, I missed that one.
I missed that one.
I liked the beginning of it.
I liked the beginning of it, too. It started really strong. But I will say, yeah, they impeached Trump on a phone call. The phone call, mind you, was asking about the corruption in Ukraine with the Biden family. Because you can't get dirt on your political opponents, right? Wasn't that the whole thing? Oh, he's trying to dig up dirt on his political opponent, his main political opponent. He's trying to dig up dirt. And now they're just trying to smear dirt on their biggest political opponent, Donald Trump, with all of these ridiculous indictments. Ridiculous indictments. Narrative-shaping indictments. They hold no merit. None of his base cares. They're trying to sway the people in the middle. They're trying to make Donald Trump untouchable, unelectable, because he's just a bad man and he's a criminal. Pay no mind to what the Bidens have been doing overseas. Pay no mind to H holding 10% for the big guy. We're not allowed to ask about that. Pay no mind to the crisis on the border, which Donald Trump had effectively solved. He was in the process of fixing, which I had never seen the border crisis in such a good state in my entire life than when Donald Trump was in charge. We have an invasion at our southern border. Our economy is in shambles. Our credit rating, the country's credit rating just got downgraded. We're dealing with BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China. They're going on a gold-backed currency. They're getting off the petrodollar. Like, we're seeing all of this happen. We don't have enough ammo to send to Ukraine. If you wanted to send ammo to Ukraine, we don't have enough. We're facing all these problems, and yet our government and our DOJ, they're focused on the weaponization of government and going after Donald Trump so he can't run or win in 2024. It's insane to me. It's insane. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for Jay Harper in the news.
Yes, it is 11:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds and 83 degrees on Music Row. A full forecast is on the way. A 34-year-old man accused of sexually assaulting two teenage girls has been taken into custody after being featured on the Metro Nashville Police Department's top 10 most wanted list. Kenneth Harris was wanted on outstanding warrants for 2 counts of sexual battery and domestic assault, according to police. He first appeared on the police department's most wanted list on July 19th, although the charges against him date back as far as December of last year. Here's an update on some money news. Jim Ryan is watching Wall Street.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Investors were giving up some of the gains they'd scored in the past week. The Dow Jones shed 228 points headed into the midday. The Standard & Poor's 500 was down 1.2% late this morning. The Nasdaq Composite had lost 2%. Private sector companies added far more jobs than expected last month, thanks partly to a boom in leisure and hospitality hiring. Payroll processing firm ADP says gains for the month came to 324,000, driven by a jump in hiring at hotels, restaurants, and bars. Working for Taylor Swift is paying off. The pop star is said to have handed out $55 million in bonuses to the people who worked on her latest tour. Let's assume you don't work for Taylor Swift. Well, you still have a chance at some really big bucks in the next couple of days. Nobody won the billion-dollar-plus Mega Millions jackpot last night. It has grown even more for Friday's drawing.
That is the latest news. We've got weather on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
One of the big words being thrown around in the investing world right now is this one. You may have heard it. Fiduciary. The idea that the investment advisor has to keep your interest first when they give advice. Now, it's being used in a marketing sense right now, and one of the things that I found fascinating, there was a study by the University of Southern California and Indiana University. They looked at investment advisor portfolios and they found that they were making basic academic mistakes in the management of their own portfolios. And the question that they asked was, if they can't even keep their own best interest first, how are they going to keep your best interest first? That was the question. Now, one of the things that we do at Paul Winkler Inc. is every one of our offices, 10 offices, is run by a degreed planner, number one. But we go way beyond the call of duty when it comes to fiduciary and making sure that we're using academically sound principles in investing. Evidence-based. In other words, it's backed by a lot of this is backed by Nobel Prize winning research. To learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand. Hey, the phone lines are open. If you're a member of the military or a veteran, I want your input on this. I'm reading a report from the Daily Mail. It says public confidence in the U.S. military hits its lowest point in 2 decades. Lowest point in 2 decades. With only 60% of Americans saying they have a great deal of confidence in the armed forces. A new survey finds. This is the Daily Mail. Survey said only 60% of people have a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in the military. Just 68% of GOP supporters answered positively, compared with 91% 3 years ago. So on the Republican side, we're at 68% support of a positive view, a public confidence in the U.S. military. But it was 91% 3 years ago. What's happening? Why is confidence in the U.S. military falling? Well, the poll highlighted the U.S.'s poor exit out of Afghanistan as one of the reasons for decline. And a poor exit that was. We left billions of dollars behind. I have some theories on why the public confidence could be low in the military. Maybe it's the forever wars. Maybe it's the woke indoctrination in the military. I mean, the Navy was paying a cross-dresser to be an influencer. Maybe, military leadership pushing woke values and ideological biases on the military members is part of it. Maybe it was the mass exodus of servicemen and women who didn't want to take the vaccine. Why do you think that American confidence is lower now in the military than ever before? 615-737-9986. Nick texted in. He said, I'm a vet and I have very little faith in the military. 20 years ago, they could hit you. Now they don't even know what gender they are. Thanks for the text, Nick. I think that that's actually a great point. And it's one of the points I made. The woke ideology that's being pushed down from the highest ranks to the lowest ranks. 3143 texted in, said, before too long, majority of military will be scared to kill a spider in the barracks. Kyle texted in, said, maybe it's the commander-in-chief. I mean, I think we can all point out that Biden's exit from Afghanistan was awful. Absolutely awful. We left billions of dollars in equipment behind. We left in the middle of the night. We let 13 men and women die. We left people behind. That was when I was growing up as a kid, you never left anybody behind. But we left them behind. 7866 texted in, said the rank and file are ready. The Pentagon is the problem. 8557 texted in, hey, Chris, Air Force veteran. It absolutely has to do with the pullout of Afghanistan. It also has to do with the so-called commander-in-chief, with all of the woke propaganda and all the crap that went on with the vaccine. It's not even just us as Americans who have lost faith in the military, but around the world, no one takes us seriously now. Is that the problem? Are we not being taken seriously? Is our military not being taken seriously? I mean, we went into Afghanistan for 20 years. What do we have to show for it? It drives me nuts. And even with the Afghanistan, I remember all the protests, no blood for oil, none of this. Oh, you know what? We didn't get any oil. We didn't get anything from Afghanistan. Doug in the borough, you want to talk about why we're losing confidence in the military? Doug, you're on Super Talk 99.7. What's up, Doug?
Yeah, Chris, man, I'm a vet, and I served back in the 80s.
Thanks for your service.
And right on, man. It's my privilege. But let me tell you, man, when Reagan came into office, we were actually proud. I mean, we were ready to go kick some Russian booty. This was back during the Cold War.
Yes, sir.
And, man, I think it really comes down to the leadership above you. I mean, we had a captain that we'd have sank the ship if he wanted us to. We were just proud to be there and proud to serve America, and we had a leader that we felt stood behind us, and you know, we were willing to do whatever for them. And so you look at who the commander-in-chief is now. I mean, look, he's the president. I respect the office, but I would have a hard time serving into somebody I felt incompetent, especially after the pullout in Afghanistan. I hang out with a guy, and I don't know if he's listening. I don't want to, but he's a disabled vet, and he lost his leg in 2006. And man, the pullout affected him harshly. He hates the military. I mean, he really does. He's back on that track again,
man,
because he felt he lost something for nothing. But I mean, look, it's a combination of everything. But for me, I would have a hard time serving again under the commander-in-chief we got now.
Does this poll surprise you, Doug?
No. Oh, no. No, I actually have a stepson that all my life I've told everybody, and like I said, I'm from the Navy, to join the Navy. Hey, look, if you ain't got nothing going on, get in the Navy, go. And now I've kind of mentioned a few times, well, look, dude, if you don't have any idea what your future holds, hey, man, go in the Navy, see the world.
Yeah.
You know, sail the seas, man. I loved it. It was the greatest time of my life. But I have to say that now thinking, well, shoot, after seeing some of these Navy videos, I've seen the commercials and all the woke garbage, I'm telling you, as a proud vet, and I love this country, man, I'm a patriotic son of a gun, I just don't feel like I don't see the flags waving anymore. I just don't think I could. And I'm having a hard time telling any young man, yeah, man, you should go in the military. And I mean that, go. But right now under this guy, there's no confidence in your leadership.
Hey, Doug, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your input. It's huge. Tony in Mount Juliet, you're on the line on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Tony, does this poll surprise you at all?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm a Marine Corps vet, served in 2009 to 2013.
Thanks for your
and
service.
A lot of the guys, thank you for your support. A lot of the guys that I served with shortly afterwards got out after Trump exited office because we all served under Obama, and it was terrible. No pay increases. You know, I was deployed to Afghanistan, and like you said, we took nothing from that country. The only thing I have seen us progress in is saving poppy fields for opium, and that was it. And other than that, I mean, it was and you know, I was like the guy that was just on. I was a big advocate for the military, telling kids, yeah, man, if you don't know what you're doing after high school, go to the military. I have a son that's 10. I wouldn't let him go into the military whenever he turned 18 for the life of me now, especially if it's like it is now. Hopefully by then things will change.
I feel the same way with my sons. It's so crazy because I always thought that was like a great path as well. But you mentioned something about the poppy fields. So I've read online that when the Taliban was in control, opium production basically stopped. And then after we got into Afghanistan, it rocketed back up again. Did you see that? Did you see that firsthand?
Yes, 100%, 100%. Why we were protecting poppy fields. We had we couldn't drive trucks through them, or they would have to pay back the farmers of the poppy fields. The government would.
That's insane.
And at the same time, we were in an opioid crisis in the United States.
I know it. Dude, that's insane. Hey, Tony, thanks for the call. Thank you for your service. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, thanks for your time.
Of course. Jason, you're on. Does this poll about public confidence in the military surprise you, Jason?
Oh, I would say it does a little bit. To me anyhow, I think that we have all the strength you could ever desire. As an Army infantry vet, I spent a year over in Afghanistan, and the only thing holding us back were the reins of the government,
Hey, thanks for
if
your
they let us
service.
do our job, we could have had the whole thing done immediately.
Really? So I was at a Trump speech in West Palm Beach, and he said that he had military leaders tell him they could get rid of ISIS in 48 hours if they were just allowed to do their job. Do you feel like that as a military vet being over there, that it could have been done a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently?
Absolutely. We could have been way more aggressive. Don't get me wrong, we were plenty aggressive, but we really could have elevated that to another level and done a much swifter job.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate the input, and I appreciate you calling. Thanks for your service, pal.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Hey, Larry in Clarksville, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Larry, does this poll about public confidence in the military surprise you?
No, sir, not at all. And salute to the last three callers. And they will call me Chair Force. Okay.
I've heard that as well.
Well, and there are some things that I will talk to you about when we meet, at the event that I won't say on air. But I had always said that I would always go back, even if I had to use my cane, because I still have the knowledge to train people. I can't do what I used to do, but I could train people.
Yep.
And listen, there is no way in the world I would let my son go back or go into the military. My dad was a Marine. He told me and my brother, if you want to go in the military, you go in. But if you mention the Marines, I will stomp your, I'm going to say rear end. That's not the word he used. And we both took him at his word, so we both went to the Air Force.
Well, Larry, thank you for your service. I look forward to meeting you at our event on August 15th at J Street Korean Bar and Grill. Johnny, you had a comment about the poppy fields that we were just talking about a second ago. Johnny, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, Chris, my pleasure. Yeah, people don't realize that Afghanistan and the war over in Afghanistan is always about the poppies. All the government pharmaceutical companies buy all their poppies and opioids from the Taliban, which is the CIA. Everybody knows that, and I don't mind telling everybody that. But they're protected over this. He's probably worth more than the oil millionaires are. He's worth more than the Sheikh of Saudi Arabia. Bin Laden is. He controls all the opioids over there that America and China and all them buy for their pharmaceuticals. Just know that, and I'll leave you at that.
Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate the call and a little bit of background information on the poppy fields in Afghanistan. Greg, you're on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Greg, does the poll about Americans' low confidence in the military worry you? Are you surprised by that? Greg?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you call my name.
Oh, you're good.
Yes. I'm a retired staff sergeant, U.S. Army Ranger.
Thanks for your service.
And thank you. It was my honor to serve. I was an Army brat. My father retired with 32 years, saw service in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And I know for a fact he is turned over in his grave 50 times because of the woke, unreliability of the upper echelons of the U.S. military.
I mean,
I have unwavering support for the rank and file military. They are there for the good of the country.
Amen.
But the upper echelon, I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw the Pentagon.
Greg, thanks for the call on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're talking about a new poll out that said U.S. Public confidence in the U.S. military has hit the lowest point in 2 decades. It's crazy. I can't say I'm surprised. I agree with the last caller, though. The rank and file in the military, amazing. 97% of them. I mean, there's going to be some woke in there as well, but it's the leadership that's the issue. The Lloyd Austins, the Rachel Levines. It's crazy, man. It's 11:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Don't forget, Matt Murphy in at noon. Big interview. Vivek Ramaswamy. I know I butchered it. I'm trying my best. I'm new, all right? Give me a little grace. It's 11:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
More on the latest Trump indictment. The U.S. credit rating takes a hit and a manhunt in Williamson County. Those stories at noon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. My best friend in the whole world is here, Matt Murphy.
Hello.
You got a big show today.
You know, we've got it stacked on the front end, baby.
Vivek Ramaswamy, Kirk Cameron.
You know, I'm going to put this to bed once and for all when I talk to him, because I've heard Vivek and I've heard Vivek.
I've said it differently every time, just to cover my bases.
Your bases. I mean, who would have thought that a man with the last name Ramaswamy, that would be the easy part?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Vivek is in town, 1 o'clock rally to support the release of the Covenant Manifesto. We'll talk with him about that, his presidential aspirations. Obviously, we'll ask him about the latest Trump indictment from yesterday. Should be fun.
I just think it's great, man. I'm learning so much from you on like getting those big guests. So I'm trying to do that too. I actually just got reached out to by Andy Ogle's camp, and he's going to come on the show next week on Tuesday. So I'm learning things from you, and I'm going to try and do it in my own way.
Well, here I think Mac Maury I think Mac Maury would agree with this. Don't lead with Matt Murphy says hello. Just don't. All right. No, Andy and I are fine. We'll be all right. We'll be better one of these days.
I'm probably going to lead with Matt Murphy says hello. Just for the All right, Matt Murphy is in next. He's got a big show. Hang out with us. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is high noon, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. It is mostly cloudy. We're up to 85 degrees. A full forecast is upcoming. A new indictment of former President Donald Trump, accused this time of conspiring to overturn the results of the 2020 election. The special counsel accusing Trump of spreading lies in an effort to stay in power. Here's ABC News investigative reporter Olivia Rubin with more.
The former president has to make his way to Washington, D.C., and he has to appear before a judge for the third time. So I think a lot of the planning right now is on, preparing him. That's mentally and physically. He's been at Bedminster. He's got to make his way to Washington, D.C.
A Wall Street ratings agency downgrading the U.S. credit rating.